From underwater complexes to always burning cities, these are 9 of the creepiest ghost towns in the world. Stay tuned to find out which one led to the death of over 80,000 residents. Number 9, Kejongdong, North Korea. The tensions between North Korea and South Korea are legendary and have filled both Western and Eastern media for the past few decades. After the 1953 armistice that ended the Korean War, a demilitarized zone was created that extends 2.5 miles into both countries and established on both borders of South and North Korea. On the North Korean side of the border, only 2 villages are allowed to exist within sight of their democratic neighbors. Often referred to as Peace Village, Kejongdong is touted by the North Koreans as a 200-family collective farm. In actuality, though, and by inspection by modern technology, it has been revealed that the town's many concrete buildings actually lack windows, are lit and delit at set times, and the only custodians walk the many streets of the city, even despite what the controlling communist government might tell you. Outside experts postulate that Kejongdong was created in an attempt to lure South Korean citizens into defecting to their northern neighbor back in the 1950s. From a distance, the city promises peace, community cooperation, and happiness, but upon closer inspection, it's all but a ghost town. Number 8, Kangbashi, China. The Ordos Desert is a constantly expanding, sand-filled strip of land located in the southern portion of Mongolian China. The soil of Ordos is made up of a mixture of clay and sand and does not lend itself to the sustaining of agriculture. The city of Ordos is a rather large economical center of the Chinese state. Ordos City is known for a very active government and also for its constant fight against the advance of the desert that surrounds and constantly threatens to overtake it. Despite successfully fighting the sands of its namesake desert for many years, in the later part of the early 2000s, the city of Ordos found their water supplies severely threatened by surrounding sands. Faced with the danger of not having enough water to support their population, the leaders of Ordos embarked on a project to build a new district on the outskirts of their home. Thus, Kangbashi was born. Originally designed to house over 1 million people, hits to the economy of Ordos City later caused its leaders to scale back the Kangbashi building project to house only 300,000 people. Instead of building housing in Kangbashi as you'd think would be needed, the community leaders of Ordos built massive apartment buildings, hospitals, railways, roads, and all of the infrastructure that a city would ever need all at once. This all-in attitude has left Kangbashi a ghost town, filled with beautiful, but also quiet and unmoving giant buildings. Kangbashi is slowly growing, but for now at least, it's mostly the winds of the desert and the rays of the sparkling sun that fill the streets of this empty, would-be utopia. Number 7, Plymouth, Montserrat. Man has battled against the elements since he first learned how to find shelter from them within caves and primitive houses. And yet, a lot of the time, all we can do to avoid the Earth's fearsome power is to get out of its way and step aside from whatever swath of destruction it's produced. For years, Plymouth City was the capital and the only part of the British Foreign Territory of Montserrat. Built upon a formerly inactive volcano, this all changed in the mid-90s. In 1995, the Soufriere Hills volcano began to stir. Massive eruptions of hot, deadly gas and burning ash ripped forth from the top of the once sleeping mountain in July of that year. At first, as a precaution, the residents of the city were evacuated, but then allowed to return to their homes after a few months when Soufriere had appeared to have calmed down. The return of the citizens of Plymouth would prove to be the foundation of a terrible tragedy, though. The volcano near Plymouth would erupt again in 1997 and killed almost 20 people. After the deaths of almost 24 of its citizens, Plymouth was evacuated again and then declared uninhabitable soon after. Nowadays, the buildings that destroyed the city stand stooped and buried under thousands of pounds of volcanic ash. A new capital for Montserrat is currently under construction, but currently, Plymouth still remains the official capital of the island territory. Number 6, Bodie, California. Bodie began its life as a small and isolated mining settlement. In the mid to late 1800s, though, the California mining organization named the Standard Company discovered gold in and around the areas surrounding the land that would one day become the town of Bodie. Popular legend states that Bodie then quickly grew to be the 3rd largest town in California. Although perhaps somewhat large, Bodhi would never quite reach such heavy levels of population, according to its recorded census data. In any case, the city would continue to grow until the late 1800s, at which point it began to decline. Like with many of the Old West ghost towns, Bodhi began to die thanks to the very thing that had given it life. When the gold of the land around the town began to dry up, the town settlers, many of which who were very opportunistic fortune seekers by their very nature, began to venture to what they thought would be greener pastures. Nowadays, Bodhi is maintained by the California government and is a reminder of an era when men would stake their lives and time on a desire to strike it rich. Number 5. Kolmanskop, Namibia. Located within the African country of Namibia, Kolmanskop is a relic from the days when Africa was almost entirely controlled by foreign interest and greed. In 1908, a German railway worker, a man named Zacharias Luala, found a diamond while working in the nearby land that would become Kolmanskop. Zacharias showed the diamond to his supervisor, and soon after, the entire area around the find had been obtained, was claimed, and declared the exclusive property of the German government. Thus, Kolmanskop was born. Constructed in the vein of the German architecture of the day, Kolmanskop featured a hospital, a school, a ballroom, and more. Then, in the years before World War II, the diamond mines of the area began to run dry. This prompted the German government to divert their attention from Kolmanskop, and with it also went the German workers who had built the city. Without anyone to live and work within the mining town, the Namibia desert that surrounded the settlement made fast and steady work to reclaim the once prosperous town known as Kolmanskop. Almost every one of its buildings has since been filled with sand or dirt, and in a modern day, the mining city can only be entered by applying for and receiving a special permit. Number 4. Pripyat, Ukraine. The incident at Chernobyl is probably one of the most infamous and well-known nuclear disasters to ever occur. Before the reactor at Chernobyl overloaded and contaminated the surrounding area, Pripyat was the city that had been built up in order to service the nuclear power station. In 1979, Pripyat was officially declared a city, but not even a full decade later, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant melted down and forced the evacuation of the entire settlement. Before this happened, nuclear power had been touted as the way of the future by the then Soviet government. The Russian administration was so optimistic about the use of nuclear power and so sure it would be safe that the Chernobyl power plant was almost constructed near the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. It was only after a significant amount of prodding and warning by the scientific community that the Soviet authorities decided to build Chernobyl near Pripyat instead. The radiation and fallout of the Chernobyl meltdown was so terrible that mutated wildlife now roam the abandoned streets of Pripyat, which have been reclaimed by the surrounding wilds over the past few decades. Number 3. Beichuan, China. Beichuan is a rural Chinese town that's located in a valley that's well known for rising over the Dragon Gate seismic fault line. In the May of 2008, it was this same fault line that produced a massive earthquake of a 7.8 magnitude. The forceful and merciless earth crumbled down on the homes of Beichuan residents and cracked apartments down to their foundations, rendering most of the city to nothing but dust and debris. Half of Beichuan's residents are estimated to have perished in this catastrophic disaster, and another 82,000 may have died in the surrounding areas. With such an outstanding death toll, it is still only the 20th most deadly earthquake in history, but we'll have to talk more about that another time. Abandoned and destroyed, Beichuan has since been overtaken by nature. Trees and crumbled houses both compete for space to rise from the ground here, and cars still lie crushed under massive concrete slabs. Number 2. Xicheng, China. For hundreds of years, Xicheng was a powerful economic and political hub for China. However, back in the 1950s, the Chinese government began the construction of a man-made lake to power a planned hydroelectric facility. During the construction of this lake, the ancient and massive city of Xicheng was slowly flooded, and over time, Xicheng became completely submerged by the waters of a man-made lake that the Chinese authorities created. For decades, Xicheng has been forgotten by the people of China. However, now there are a number of divers lobbying to turn the eastern Atlantis into a tourist attraction. The ancient carved lions and towering Chinese architecture of Xicheng sits forebodingly at the bottom of its watery grave. Forgotten for ages, it may soon be drawing people into it once more. Number 1. Centralia, Pennsylvania. In 1770, the land that would become Centralia, Pennsylvania, was purchased from the Native American inhabitants by colonial settlers from the Old World. For a long time after that, Centralia remained relatively unnoticed. That is, until 1854, when the coal deposits there began to draw the interest of investors and settlers. The town would continue to grow for quite some time, until an unexpected turn of events that changed everything. In 1962, the leaders of Centralia hired members of the city's local fire department to burn off the trash and debris of their landfill. Unfortunately, the Centralia landfill had been moved in the years prior, and the relatively safe practice of burning off trash had unexpected consequences. The flames from the burning trash escaped the landfill and were funneled into the abandoned coal mines under the city, igniting and lighting them ablaze. Thanks to this phenomenon, the land under Centralia soon became unstable and was deemed by many experts as too dangerous to occupy. Centralia was abandoned for the most part. While most of its residents accepted buyout offers from the state of Pennsylvania, some of them were evicted by the state through a declaration of eminent domain on the dangerous land. A very small number of original Centralia citizens have been allowed to remain and live out the rest of their lives within the condemned town, but their property was set to be seized once they have passed on. Not only is this fire still burning today, but science predict that it could burn for another 250 years. What do you think about all these creepy ghost towns? Which ones do you want to visit? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next time.